So, this is the part of the show where usually I just say something silly about something that is happening outside our window in MacArthur Park or here in my neighborhood in Lincoln Heights. But today is a different kind of day for me. It's a sad day at my house. It's going to be the last day for my dog Coco. She's 16, she's almost 17. She's coming to the end of the line. Coco has been part of this show her whole life. When we adopted her 13 or 14 years ago, I worked alone in an apartment in Koreatown here in LA. I loved my work, but I was desperately lonely. Coco stayed with me all day. She rubbed against my legs like a cat. She jumped onto my lap while I typed at the little bedroom vanity that was my office. When I got a migraine, which was too often, I'd lie on the bed and she'd brush into my hand to check if I was okay, and then she would climb up onto the covers and tuck her body against my side with her nose on top of my shoulder and stay there with me while I cried or slept. She greeted all my guests at the door. On the elevator, I would offer to put her away if they were uncomfortable with dogs, and nobody ever took me up on it. She was the hospitality committee. Guests who very reasonably thought that it was weird that they were about to record a public radio interview in some 26-year-old's apartment looked into Coco's sparkly human eyes and felt at home. I barely had to do anything. If you've listened to this show for a long time, you've probably heard her. She was vigilant in protecting our apartment from anyone who happened to be walking in the hallway or from the quinceañera dance class that happened in the alley out back. It's okay. It's okay that you can hear her barking on my radio show, I would say to my bosses at PRI. She's a character. It's proof I really am at my house. When our company got an office, she came in sometimes, less frequently, but she was still there to keep me company and to gather pets from my colleagues, Nick and Julia. Once in a while, she came into the studio with me to record this tracking. She was on the air less then, but even as my family filled with children, she remained at its center. She was always the one who took care of me when I needed it. When the pandemic hit a couple years ago, Coco was already old. She didn't play fetch anymore. She couldn't quite follow the ball. Our other dog hassled her and bossed her around. She was crotchety. She didn't want the kids to bother her. But I desperately needed her in my office, on my lap, like in the old days. I silently begged her to stay with me while I struggled, and she did. She was a trooper. I read something once about Maurice Sendak. He had a dog named Jenny. She's in his books. If you look, Max chases her with a fork in Where the Wild Things Are. She eats a potted plant in Higgledy-Piggledy Pop. Sendak had many dogs. He said Jenny was his one special friend, the one he always loved and would always love. I'll never stop being grateful to my dog Coco, who trusted us to care for her when she was afraid of the wind, who tolerated our kids with a sigh, who sat on my lap while I worked alone. I'll always be grateful to her for staying with me when the world turned to garbage and my dad died and my family struggled. And whether or not you remember hearing her bark, if you've heard this show, you've heard her. My assistant, my comfort, my best friend. Always my best friend. There's a part in Higgledy-Piggledy Pop where Jenny writes a letter to her master. And she says, "Hello. As you probably noticed, I went away forever. I'm very experienced now and very famous. I'm even a star. I can't tell you how to get to the castle yonder because I don't know where it is. But if you ever come this way, look for me." So, that's the end of another episode of Bullseye. Bullseye created from the homes of me and the staff of Maximum Fun in and around greater Los Angeles, California. My home a little more empty this week. The show is produced by Speaking Into Microphones. Our senior producer is Kevin Ferguson. Our producers are Jesus Ambrosio and Richard Roby. Our production fellow at Maximum Fun is Tabitha Myers. We get booking help from Merritt Davis. Our interstitial music is by DJ W, also known as Dan Wally. Our theme song is called Huddle Formation, written and recorded by the Go Team. Thanks to them and Memphis Industries, their label, for providing it to us. Bullseye is also on YouTube, Twitter, and Facebook. Follow us there, and we will share with you all of our interviews, that you may share them with others. I think that's about it. Just remember, all great radio hosts have a signature sign-off.
Bullseye with Jesse Thorn is a production of MaximumFun.org and is distributed by NPR.